Hey everyone, this is Eric, and we're Web Connects, and we're so excited you guys are joining us. We are going to get started in about another 30 seconds. We just see a bunch of people still joining in, getting their Zooms configured. So hang tight. We'll be starting here in just a second as people stream in.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is John, and I'm one of the founders here, along with Eric. It's really fun to see so many people here on a, what morning is this? Gosh, on a Thursday morning. Thanks for being here. We're glad you're here. Somebody's asking already just right away if we're going to record this and make this available, and yes, we will. We'll make this available. So let's just jump in. So first of all, we know that these have been really challenging times for all of us. We've been working really hard here to provide you with tools that you need to navigate this as well. And just we're in this together, and we're going to help you navigate this as best we can. And while we're very wide-eyed about the severity of the situation that we're all finding ourselves in, we're also really hopeful about the future. And we've been incredibly encouraged with the conversations that we're having with event organizers who are dreaming up such creative solutions. And we just really feel like, man, if anybody can pivot in this season, it's event organizers. That you guys are creative, you're scrappy, you're determined, and probably event organizers, maybe more than any other industry, we think are able to reimagine new realities. It's event organizers that can take a blank convention center and turn it into an experience. You're the people who can take over a field and turn it into something magical for people. So we have no doubt that our customers are going to be the ones who dream up new ideas and uncover new ways to surprise and delight your attendees. We do have some great technology that can help, and we believe there are incredible solutions hidden in these difficult times. So we're going to jump in and show you some of those. One note, so we have a couple products. We invited everybody from both our RegFox and our TicketSpice products into this webinar. And typically, we try to separate those out, but we believe a lot of these solutions are going to be applicable to both of you. So just know if you're a RegFox customer, you may hear some conversation about TicketSpice, and vice versa. If you're a TicketSpice customer, you may hear little things about RegFox, but they're really so similar. We wanted to have everybody in the same webinar. So as we go, you'll see a Q&A box, and you can just go ahead and add your questions into that, and then we will get those answered as we go. We will have a session at the end to do Q&A, but we're going to have some folks here who can try to get those going as well. So maybe let's just jump into kind of some of what we're hearing and some trends. So a couple things on trends. We can get the slide advanced a couple. That would be fantastic. So there's where you can ask the questions. So here's some of the things that we're hearing. First is that we will come out of this. But most of our customers and the folks that we're talking to in the industry believe there will be some sort of a new normal here. Secondly, we just really believe that out of challenging times are going to come great opportunities. That some of the greatest ideas and inventions have been born out of adversity. They've been born in recessions. They've been born in depressions. And so we realize that there are challenging times, but we also believe that we're going to see incredible opportunities for people to grow and thrive out of this. So I think the challenge is the people and everybody we talk to are thinking the same way. So how do we think about the future of live events? So when live events resume, what do they look like? How are they different? What does that future look like? And then also, what is the current situation with virtual events? And how do we balance these? Will it be a combination of the two? And a lot of those are unknown. And so we've loved thinking with our customers, thinking with our team about both of those futures. So we're also thinking that probably what's going to happen is there'll be some sort of phased reopenings. So initially, the gatherings will probably be limited in some capacity. We also have been talking with customers about what do contactless environments look like. Is it possible to do ticket sales without even using a box office? And we have some ideas for that. How do you do virtual waivers? How do you think through all those things to remove contact from a new normal and a new environment? And we really believe this is probably becoming the death of cash. And so we're thinking through all those things about how we can be most helpful in a new scenario. Additionally, we're also hearing from, we've talked to some really big brands in the last few weeks, and everyone is looking to create unique experiences. And we really believe that the same principles apply. So how do you create a great experience for your customer, whether it's virtual, whether it's in person, that really the things that have made great events great are the same. How do we create amazing experiences for our customers with the new normal and the limitations that we have? So when we think about virtual events, there's a lot of, we've had some customers who've already run virtual events, so there's been some great learning that's happening. One thing we are learning is that people have a limited attention span, that virtual events are going to be different than an in-person event, and there's a limited span that you can go to a live in-person event and come out invigorated and excited, whereas if you sat on a Zoom for the entire day, you're not going to have that same experience. So they have to be better than the virtual equivalent. So what we're seeing that's not successful is just taking an event and trying to stream the entire thing. That there has to be a better way to engage than just the virtual equivalent. And everyone is reimagining how to engage in virtual environments. People are talking about, is there some physical side of it and then some virtual side of it? We've talked with some customers who are sending out in advance. They're sending out some physical goods, a book and some other things to help people engage in a virtual environment. So everyone's rethinking that and thinking about how does this actually work and what makes sense there. And just know that as we talk with people, no one has all the answers. There's a lot of people who are dreaming some really creative things, but the future is yours to dream up. And we're here to support that from a technology side, but the future is truly yours to dream up. So what we're going to go through today are some new features and updates. We're going to talk about pre-registration with a card on file. We're going to review our time slot ticketing because that's been really helpful for some folks. We're going to give you an update on our virtual events platform, and we're going to show you something that we have in development, which is embedded video communication. So what I'm going to do is kind of walk through each of these quickly as far as the problems that we're solving, and then I'm going to turn it over to Eric, and he's going to actually demo some of these features. So the first one is pre-registration with a card on file. And so what the challenge is that event organizers are unsure when future events can resume. So I run an event in summer, and we don't know when we can start. And so the challenge with that is, I mean, there's a ton, but the other thing is that when you look at attendees, that attendees are hesitant to outlay money for an event that may or may not happen, and they're unsure about the future as well. So the challenge with that is if attendees are hesitant to lay out the money and you're not sure if the event's going to happen, how do you solve that? So we have something called pre-registration with a card on file. So how it works is you create your page just like normal, but you enable pre-authorization. So what happens is you set up your standard event page, and people can go and they can pre-register. So what's going to happen is we're going to test the card to make sure that that card is valid, and then later you're going to be able to mass charge all of those pre-registered attendees. And what's really nice is this can be for all attendees, or it can be for certain options. So let's say you want to do a ticket that is a full price ticket and it's a pre-registration only, so we're going to authorize the card, but they're not going to pay for it until the event is for sure a go. You know, maybe that's the full price. And maybe you want to have a discounted price where they're going to pay in full for it today. All those kind of things are optional with the pre-registration card on file, and something we're really excited about just to get people back to registering for events and remove some of the ambiguity of if the event is going to happen. The other thing we're going to go through again is our time slot ticketing. So this is something that we actually built a while ago, but the biggest challenge is that what we see is these phases that cities are probably going to phase in their public gatherings, and they're going to limit attendees to smaller capacities. So what this is going to do, the other challenge is that how do event organizers then sell tickets for specific time slots at their event, and our time slot ticketing solves that. The way time slot ticketing works, and it's a standard feature inside of TicketSpice, is that you can then set a date window for you when you want attendees to go. So maybe it's a 3-day event or 1-day event, or it runs for a month, it doesn't matter. You set the window of when you want to allow your attendees, and then you can set time slots for each day. So maybe you want to have time slots every 30 minutes, every 15 minutes, every 2 hours. You set those time slots, and then you can limit that capacity for each time slot. So we've had a lot of interest in this from even customers that wouldn't have potentially been customers in the past, but it's great for limiting those time windows. So virtual events, the biggest challenge is, guys, virtual events are changing really fast. And we're seeing this, and we're adapting, and we're working really hard to bring you next level virtual event functionality. So one thing is we're seeing is you need multiple content sources. So you might have live streams, you might have replays, you might have downloads. So you have all these things happening. And then probably the bigger thing is that you need to restrict that access to specific attendees and or selection. So we're going to restrict those options to specific attendees. So how do we do that? What we're going to do is we're going to show you how this works. But we've got an improved navigation for various content types, and we have options to restrict that content based on page choices. So for example, if you had a certain ticket type or a certain registration option or any of those things, then you can actually show specific content based on that. Additionally, we're working on some new functionality to allow for networking, sponsor integration, and exhibitors. That stuff's in the works, but we can give you a bit of a look at that too. And then finally, the last thing we'll show you is our embedded video communication. So this is in development, and the big challenge that we found is that Zoom, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, some of the others, what happens is they launch external applications. And so there are really very few reliable ways to restrict video meetings in a virtual event area and make sure that they're only available to those registered guests. So if you use Zoom, for example, there's really nothing to prevent someone from sharing that Zoom link. And so we're working on some great ways to be able to restrict that access. And then what we've found too is that there's some kind of host versus guest experience that is lacking in some of the current platforms. So if you wanted to do a private meet and greet with an artist, that we haven't found a great way to do that. And so we'll walk through and show you some of that. So we've solved that with a new platform that we're calling the embedded video communication. And just we'll show you quickly, we'll walk you quickly through how it works, how to embed it into the virtual event area, and how to make it accessible only to certain attendees. So if you had maybe even a VIP option or something along those lines, then you could do that. It looks like my slides are a little behind. But what it does is it gives you the notion of a stage. And so you'll be able to have up to 6 other video hosts at one time on the stage. And then you can bring attendees on the stage to interact as well. Hosts can mute, unmute, ban, and moderate the whole experience. It's something that we're really excited about. We even built the option to do a virtual selfie. So we'll walk you through this quickly. This is in development, but Eric can kind of show you a bit of how this is going to work, but something that we've been very excited about, especially if you're doing smaller meet and greets, that we think this is going to be next level as far as a way to manage that. So let's see some demos. Eric, I'm going to turn this over to you and
Awesome.
And take it away.
All right, let's do it. I think I need Ashley to stop sharing before I can share. Thank you. All right, we are webinaring across different platforms. All right, so Zoom is not showing me which screen I'm looking at here, which is awesome. You guys seeing? Yep,
you got the My Pages up, Eric, is the one
okay,
we're looking at.
Very cool. I got 3 monitors here. All right, so and this is our demo environment here. I've been monitoring some of the questions here. So this is in development now. It's in testing. So we don't have a firm timeline out. I would say the best case, humanly possible, will be next week. It all depends on how the rest of kind of our edge cases go. But let me show you here real quick. And we know you guys are customers of ours. So I'm going to show you briefly RegFox and also a quick glance at TicketSpice. And also this works for Red Podium if we've got some Red Podium customers on here as well. So I'm going to skip all the customization just because you guys don't need to see how we design pages. We kind of know all that stuff. So I'll say pre-registration sample. And then I'm going to click through here. I'm just going to choose a standard event. You guys should all know this stuff. I'll choose sample theme. All right, so This gets controlled in a couple areas. So if you go down to the bottom here, the billing area, and you go to credit card and you hit the pencil here, you'll now have a new option called pre-registration. And so you can enable this, and you can call this maybe, if I want to name this something different, I can call it Save My Spot. And you can have, what is really important here is that you can have this go concurrently between both pre-registration and also credit cards, depending on the option. So as John kind of referred to in the past, earlier in the presentation, that if you want people to pay upfront now in full, they can do that. And also there could be an option where they also can save a card on file. And just a note on here, I saw another question about, are we holding the entire amount? No, we're not, because there's certain time limits for how long you can hold that authorization. It's a $1 pre-auth just to make sure they give you a good card, and that's it. And then you can mass charge them later. So I'll have it save my spot. And we know that language here is gonna be important. So there's a place you can specify the text that's going to be shown to your attendees. So you can also enable pre-registration over here. And so I have an option to have a note on the form, which will let them know that your card will not be charged as the pre-registration. And maybe you want this to be date specific. You can say by July 12th, we will know for sure. And you can use this to kind of more clarify the message there. And the same thing is with the confirmation page below as well, that you can insert text here, and this is going to be displayed on the confirmation page itself. So one thing we want to make sure is like that as people put in the cards, like their card has not been charged. And so we're really trying to de-risk it for everybody. So I'm going to hit save, and then I'm going to hit publish. We're going to go to a tester gateway and view the page here. And so we have our standard page here. I'm going to choose a registration option. I can add additional registration if I like. We'll have our favorite Dwight Schrute here. We'll copy his information. We'll add a card, expiration date and year. And then we see our little custom note here. Again, this can be customized to be date specific or condition specific. Another good note for you guys to know, anybody who's doing kind of screening for registrations, is that this is a really good use too. We've had that request in the past where I want people to kind of pre-register, we screen them, and then if they get in, we charge a card. So again, this can work for the COVID pandemic, but also people who've got screening use cases. So now my pre-registration is complete. I have my custom language here. We see what I registered for. We're going to update some of the totals here to clarify that this is a future total to be in the future, but you can customize the text here. So now I have Dwight is now in, and he's now a pre-registrant. And I'm going to go back over to pages here, go to registrations, and new on here is going to be pre-registrations. And so we'll get to see Dwight listed here. We see that he's pre-registered for $26.50, and I can complete him and ask me, are you sure? We say yes. And now his card is charged, and he's now completed into a full ratified attendee. We will have, as you, to do the mass charge option, we'll probably have a bunch of check boxes here that you can check, and then the ability to mass charge them all at once. So that's one of the things that's still waiting to come out. We feel we have a little bit of time on that still, but you have that option to mass charge them or individually screen them. So if I wanted to, look at my registration here, I could look at my options, and I could decide if I want to change them or cancel them from there. Let me show you really quick on Ticket Spice as well. From Ticket Spice, we can go in here, exact same situation as before, as we have the pre-register option there. Now, one thing that you can do in all of our event products is you could have the pre-registration option activate based on actions. So if I wanted to create an action that said when ticket level 1, let's say ticket level 1 is the pre-registration option, when they're choosing that one, then we want to show the pre-register option and also maybe hide the credit card one. So you could do this to have your offering be contingent upon, do you want to pay the full amount now, or do you want to do a pre-registration and have your card charged later? So depending on how you want to market it, how you want to communicate it, we made that option available. We thought that was going to give you guys the best option to incentivize people to maybe even pay up front and full now. Very, very cool. Another thing on this, if I go over to my orders here, I see Chuck Norris at Kick Your Booty in Texas. And let's say Chuck calls and he wants to make a modification. He's a pre-registration right now. So we have 2 tickets in here, but he wants to add somebody else. I also can complete him from this individual screen. Just want to note that as well. But let's say I want to edit him and add a ticket level. I can add an additional ticket level 1, and I can save his order. So now his new total is 120. So I can save him. And then when I go back to orders and I go to pre-registrations, I see him, and now his pre-registration amount is now 120. So this is something we really want to go after as well, because we know that people have different issues that they may want to modify or change the registration between the time when they originally register, when they're going to be charged. So we allowed that all those edit workflows just to work for you guys. And then I can hit complete and say yes, and now he's in. So again, we're super excited about for this because we think that for you guys, the event organizers, you can help move your events forward, but also the attendees, we can completely de-risk and removing the anxiety of having people's money tied up on that. So that is the quick overview here of the pre-registration. Again, this works on TicketSpice, RegFox, and Red Podium, and it works also with multi-reg as well. So on RegFox, if you have multiple attendees who are registering, it will work as you add the additional attendees on there. So in a case here where I'm adding a family of 3 or 4, it'll add all the different attendees on there. And then when you complete them, it'll complete all of the registrations and charge the full amount. So that is that. We should move over and have John show the time slot ticketing. We'll spend just a few minutes on that, and you guys can see how that is helping event organizers now.
Great. So let me show you the time slot tickets. I'll share my screen here. So this has been out for a while, but what we're finding is this is really applicable to what we see the near-term environment. So again, and this is just an example page. This is Seth Goodson, who's on our team, and his beautiful family here. And so in here, what this allows you to do is you can choose a date. So let's say we want to go to this event on Friday, and then you can select a time. So we have this limited to 30 tickets at each one of these 30-minute blocks. And then once I select the block I want, then you can have as many different ticket types below it. And so what it'll do is it'll allow, this is 30 tickets allowed in this block, so it only allows 30 tickets of any combination of these tickets. It won't oversell more than 30 in that slot. So the way this is created is we'll go in and edit this dummy campaign here. And when you go down into the ticket information, on this, what you're going to do is just select the time slot. So we've got our days here. You can add as many time slots as you want to. And then what this allows you to do is set the capacity to each one of those time slots. So maybe this is a bigger event and you want to have 50, then you can do all of that. And then you can have your ticket levels here below it. So you can still control your supply or limit the availability. So if you're adult, maybe you only want, for whatever reason, you want your adult to only have 25. It'll sell out at 25, but you're never going to oversell 50 in this time slot. You can also use actions too with this. So if you, let's say you are doing your events on Thursday, and on Thursday you don't open until 11, you can use all of our actions to show and hide. So if day is Thursday, show time slots 11 through whatever time you're going to close. So you can change that, modify that with the actions, but it's a fantastic way to go. We've had great success with this, but feel free to use this. You can convert an event and start doing time slots at any time. Eric, back to you.
All right. So we're going to show you some quick enhancements to the virtual events area. And then I want to make sure we get to the Q&A as well here. I already see some great questions coming in. So here's one of our demo pages, Be Like Mike. Can you tell we have a little thing from Michael Scott in the office here? Been very therapeutic in the pandemic times for me personally, but here's a registration page. We have Dwight and Michael are our keynote speakers. We have our registration options. We have registration options with the meet and greet. And then we have breakout sessions. This is really common for the more corporate events where I get to choose some sessions. Now, most software providers in the registration space basically kind of have one gate and say, once you get in, you get access to everything. And so what we're seeing is that not only do you need to have multiple live streams and multiple different content types, is that we need to restrict each of those to my selections. So for example, if I was an attendee and I chose just this one session, that I should get access only to that session. So on the digital access area, we can go over here and I can build as many of my kind of live stream content areas here. So if we had Stanley teaches a work ethic. You know, I could add in all my content. I could add in my YouTube or Vimeo embed code here. And so I can restrict them based on times. But as we said before, we want to have those restrictions based on your choices. So taking a look here, we had Michael Scott teaches healthy confrontation. That was one of the registration breakouts. You could allow this to be visible on a registration level. So if you want it to be based on the standard or another different registration type, you can do that. Or what we had on the form was actually they're choosing that as a session. So when I choose this option, now that one video stream or that breakout or that Zoom is going to be restricted just to that one based if I selected it. Same thing with all the rest of these. I don't need to go through all of them, but if Dwight teaches motivating your subordinates and that was my selection, then I have access to that. And then we have a meet and greet. There's an option here for a meet and greet. And so I'm going to allow this to be only available for the registration that had the meet and greet option there. New in here as well is how to preview it. So if you remember how we had it before, we had it stacked. And so now we have this nice little sidebar that you can go between the different options here. I can see my downloads and get my motivational poster. So it now has a little more flexibility in here. Chats also work if you want to add, especially with Vimeo, any provider that has an embeddable chat code, you can embed it below the video source and have those be combined. And then here, instead of having to practice registrations and seeing the areas, you can toggle through this little preview menu here and you can see what does it look like for each one. We've also enhanced the security of the virtual event area to make sure that we do a token base and that token can only be used once per IP address simultaneously. So what we've heard is people, especially any celebrities who are doing some more exclusive offerings, what we heard from the promoters of these celebrities, like the very first thing that happens is people tweet out the link. So this will help us keep people inside the area and restrict that. The same thing on let's show you Ticket Spice. So very popular use case is artists or talent doing at-home concerts and then also doing meet and greet. So I have two kind of ticket levels here. One's a general access, one's a VIP that has a meet and greet, but also has a additional show. By the way, here's a fun fact. That is my brother. This is a real band, and that is Matt Berenger from The National. They make great music. They haven't done it for a couple years, but anyways, if you're looking for some good music, that's a good one I suggest. But that is my real brother. So I have those options. And under digital access here, I can build my my streams or my Zooms just like before. So I have my live concerts and I can restrict this by audience. I can say this is going to be for all levels. And then that special songwriting process and that meet and greet is going to be only for the VIP people. And so I can choose these options here. And so now when I buy my ticket, based on my ticket purchase, I get access to whatever those streams were. So that is the enhancements to the digital area. So now I want to take us on a brief tour to what we have coming for the video content in terms of how do we restrict the maybe more exclusive experiences. So for example, let me take you through a quick example here where a lot of people are using Zoom, but as we know, the challenges with Zoom is that Zoom launches an external application that doesn't allow you to restrict it. And so one of the most common things we hear is like, how do I embed my GoToWebinar? How do I embed my GoToMeeting or my Zoom? And how do we keep people in? So what this is going to do is going to help us with smaller gatherings. We want to think about gatherings where maybe there's panelists, maybe there's meet and greets. Sub 200 people is kind of our target. So let me show you what we have cooking up, and it's going to be an embedded experience inside here. And so this is what it's going to look like. You're going to have kind of a central stage. So the idea here is like there's a central stage that everyone looks at, and this is a view of me as a host. And so we'll have this notion of multiple hosts, and then they have guests. So this is me as a host, and so you have a stage, and me as a host, I can go on stage, I can leave stage, I can stop my video, and I can manage the stage of who I want to bring on. So the concept here would be maybe you're doing a panel on surviving the pandemic as event organizers, and you've got 4 or 5 different hosts, and they're all talking and collaborating. and they're going to be speaking about the state of events. So you're going to have a chat side over here that's going to allow people to interact. You're also going to have attendees over here where you can see who's in here. And but I, as a host, can also manage their interactions. I can bring different hosts onto stage through their videos using that the icon or the star. So when I hit the star, it actually brings them to stage. But the nice thing is I actually can bring guests on stage. What we want to try and do is help simulate and recreate that in-person experience where maybe someone stands up and raises their hand, they have a question, where I actually can bring Alex Penny on here onto stage, and his video is on, his sound is on, and he can actually ask his question live. So what we want to do is have this video chat feature be restricted enough to where it's more than a live stream, but it is it has more controls than maybe a Zoom would offer. So think of breakout sessions, think of panelists, think of small groups, meet and greets. Anybody who is of influence is going to have a great use for this, where they can engage audience, fans, members. And so you could have as many of these as you want. So you could have 7 or 8 of these kind of breakout sessions or meet and greets or networking sessions. And so this will allow you to manage that video experience a little more. Let me tease you a little bit more with some of the controls in here. So some of the controls for moderation for chat is we can delete and ban guests. We can allow comments. We can stop all videos. We can manage our stage. As I mentioned before, bringing a guest to stage, I can bring him and make him one of the squares. And then in addition to just managing who's on stage and who else do I want to bring. So just this kind of notion of like, we're going to control the visualization for everybody, and we're going to allow guests to be elevated to a more visible position and to have some more engagement there. So that is the quick overview of our video embedded solution here. This is in development as we speak right now. We don't have any time estimates on this part, but it's something we're excited about and is getting a lot of traction already with all of our requests. So I'm going to stop sharing, and we can now move into answering some questions.
Perfect, thanks, Eric. I'm going to run through a few of these. Katie or Ashley, if you want to pull in any that are seeming more common, we can talk through those. So there's a few questions about, is this part of the product? So everything you've seen is yes, it's part of TicketSpice or RegFox. It's the same registration solution. We've just created an area where you can manage the virtual event experience. So it's not a separate product, it's a feature within the product. The video piece that we're working on that Eric showed with the embed, same thing. It'll just be an addition into the virtual events area that allows you to manage the streaming option. So currently, we give you the ability to pull in whatever streaming option you want to. So we're not in the video streaming business, and you can use whoever you want to there. The video embed that we're working on just is a solution that we're seeing a problem with right now, that the folks aren't able to restrict the access and have what we think is a great solution for meet and greet. So that's why we're building that one out specifically.
Some questions here. Someone's asking, can you enable the pre-registration in the middle of a campaign, that's voting process? Yes, you can. So, these are all the things that we thought through and what would you guys want to have. And so the midstream pivot, these are all about, we didn't expect this to happen 60 days ago. So the virtual events, you can promote a standard event to a virtual event and vice versa. The pre-registration feature, you can enable that on current pages as well. Another question was about the time slot ticketing. That is what you saw from John, that is in TicketSpice directly now. You can do something similar in RegFox based on the registration options and the multiple choice features. The workflow is a little bit different, and it doesn't have the kind of notion of, I'm going to repeat this time slot every single day until the next 2 weeks. So TicketSpice has a little bit more options in way of how that is scheduled as well.
So the question about timing. So when do you think you're going to roll this out, and what will the costs associated be with this platform? So a lot of them are out now. The only one that's not out now is the last one that Eric showed with the embeddable video. And right now, there's no additional cost for any of these. So time slot ticketing is something that's already available. The authorization, there'll be no additional charge for that. We charge a 99-cent fee when it's authorized. And then there's no additional fee when you run those when the event's going to happen. So all that's out now. We are not charging anything additional for the virtual event side. It's included in the 99 cents. We are with you as our customer base. We want to support you however we can. So currently all of the virtual events functionality is included in the 99-cent standard fee.
Some good questions around accessibility. We'll be testing that. So yeah, most of our pages in the standard form come with all the accessibility resources there to make the vision impaired use it. So I don't think we've tested it yet, but it's something that we'll certainly review.
Yeah, somebody had a question about just if the attendees are in the pre-registration area, so they've had their card authorized, is there a way to contact them before? So not currently. You could definitely message them through the communication center. Could potentially be something we add later, similar to our wait list functionality. But what you want to make sure is that those attendees, that they're agreeing and understanding that they want to attend the event if the event happens. And so when that happens, it just makes an easy way for you to just push a button, charge those cards, and be on your way. So there's not a way currently to notify them. You can always do it through the communication center, but great question there.
Good questions on some live streams. So the virtual events area for us will work with anything that gives you an embeddable output. So most providers, YouTube, Vimeo, and all the big ones, they give you a way to embed their live stream content in the virtual area. So we'll be compatible with anything that gives you something that can go external. So, but there's certain limitations with that too. Not every platform limits how that video can be seen. So for example, YouTube really wants you on YouTube. And so they make it really easy for you to leave whatever area you are to go to YouTube because they want to have you continue watching cat videos after it's done. But Vimeo and some of the other providers, what they do is they allow us to do some domain restrictions, which will allow your video live stream or your video replay to be only visible on that domain name. So we have a kind of a bias towards Vimeo because they seem to have done it really well. Wistia is really good for on-demand videos and replays where you can restrict it to the domain, because the last thing someone wants to do when they pay for access to that is to see that everyone got it for free outside. Question on, will there be additional charge for pre-registration? No, you just move the registration fee up front. And so when you ratify them and charge them later, there's no fee then. So we just move it to further up in the purchasing process. You would have to have a card on file if you're using WePay, where normally your registration fees or ticketing fees are captured by WePay. To use a pre-registration feature, you have to have a card on file, and we'll bill you every 30 days for the uses. Good question of what if the card expires between the hold date and the charge date? Great question. So we're going to work in some decline flows, some notifications, and the ability to update those. We don't have any timeline on this, but we're also working on a feature that will allow us to go and retrieve updated expiration dates for cards. So we don't have a timeline on that, but we just want you guys to know that that is a key component, not only to events and future events for upgrades and downgrades, but the ability to have recapture those things as cards kind of lapse. So we've got a couple options there, but ideally we would have in the future the ability for us to retrieve those updated expiration dates.
And there's a number of questions I've seen about Zoom specifically and how that works. So when you guys sign up for this webinar, you went through the process. So it would be the same way for Zoom. So you can lock down that content, but they're going to launch it in the Zoom application. So if you want to go through and register, you can see how that process works. We'll probably have a recording of this in the same process. You can go back and see that. But that's how Zoom would work. You can use any platform that you want to, either as an embed or as a link. So any streaming service that you want to use with this, you can use today.
A couple more questions surrounding the difference between us testing the card or verifying it's real and the notion of a hold. So when you go to a hotel, they're going to put $100 hold on your card. They're going to kind of reserve a space in your kind of credit profile of that $100 so that they are reliably able to charge you should you go wild and crazy with the mini bar in your hotel room or order room service. So this is different. There's restrictions for how long you can do those holds. You can't do them indefinitely, and certainly for anybody who's facing the pandemic and trying to look at an event maybe that's this summer, you actually can't do a hold that long. So that's why we didn't go that route. What we do is we do a $1 pre-auth just to make sure that they gave us a good card and that the card is current. So that's why we do the quick $1 in and out authorization and reversal. Most people never know those things happen, but that happens quite often for apps like Uber and different services where they're going to charge your card later, but they need to make sure that it's still good today. So that is what we're doing on here because we don't know when you're going to charge the card, and it certainly is not likely to last all the way. We also wanted the attendees to be de-risked too. When people rent a car, when people do a hotel room, it's not that infrequent where people will complain about that, hey, I have less credit line because you're occupying the space. So that's the reason we made those decisions. And so that's how that works. A question on the convenience fee. I just remind of our convenience fees on these sample pages. Those all go to you. So whatever calculations build up on there, you get to charge that in the future automatically, and that money goes to you and does not go to us. So if that makes sense.
Let me ask a question about contactless waivers, Laura. It's something that we're working with a number of folks on. Feel free to reach out to us because we'd be happy to chat with you. We do have in RegFox and our Red Podium platform the ability for you to have the attendee agree to the terms when you check them in, and you can do that with an image verification. So it takes that image and it locks them with the terms, that image with the terms that they agreed to. So it's one thing that we're looking at. We've talked with a number of event organizers about that, and there's kind of some different thoughts based on different use cases. So feel free to reach out. I'm gonna plug my email address in here for you, Laura. But happy to chat about what you're seeing there. And guys, this is we've talked about this a lot, but we are all in this together, and would love to just chat about ideas and what you're seeing. And for us, we're trying to stay ahead of the trends too. And a big part of that is just time that we're spending with our customers, understanding what you're looking for and what you're going through. So please reach out to us, to either Eric or I or Katie or anybody on our team. We would love to chat about what you're seeing, where things are going. It keeps us ahead of the curve as well.
Just to reiterate the pricing again, it's still 99 cents a registration. So think of like your customers have almost kind of two interactions. They have the pre-registration, then they have the final one. So we're not double charging. We're just doing the 1.99 cent per registration per ticket. And instead of it being charged at the time they fully pay, we just capture it up front instead. So you won't be charged. So if I reserve my spot today, I put a card on file to attend your event, that would accrue a 99 cent fee that then you pay with your credit card on file with us every 30 days. And then in, let's say, 2 or 3 months, when you decide, oh, our event can proceed, I'm going to mass charge all the cards, and you process the, let's call it $20,000 for the pre-registrations that are on hold, you get no fees from us at that point, but you would have whatever credit card fees are incurred, because that's actually when the credit card is charged. This also a question on, does this work for free events? Yes, it does. So you can have all your attendees. We weren't quite sure like who needs this and how would that work, but this does accommodate free registrations or free tickets, and it does not confirm them until you confirm them. So the key use case there we thought of actually was people who've been issued a coupon code for a postponed event who are registering on a future event. So that allows you to use this and ratify even if the order is free. And if it's free, obviously there's no credit card. You don't need to put a credit card in for a free event. The credit card field just kind of goes away.
Yeah, it looks like, guys, we probably have time for a couple more questions. Somebody's asking what's the capacity for the meet and greet platform that we're working on. So that one is probably, we think, best for probably sub 100 attendees. That one we're really building around either smaller gatherings or meet and greets. So you'll have the ability to have up to 6 people on stage at one time with videos, and then other participants as well. So that one's probably geared a bit towards smaller groups.
We've got a Giving Feel stowaway here on the demo asking about Giving Feel events. And this would work just like that too. So if you have a fundraiser event and they have a donation option in the ticket field, you can ratify that on the page. As far as like letting them choose the fund that it goes to, you probably need to make an edit on the transaction or that ticket donation amount for when it goes through. We don't interface back to the attendee when you decide to charge them. So this also could potentially work for kind of crowd fundraisers. We have a peer-to-peer system. I don't want to confuse all of these together, but should you have a kind of a fundraising goal that, hey, if we reach the goal, we can mass charge all the donations. That could be an option. We have not anticipated plan for that yet, but since we've got a give and feel person in here, I thought it'd be nice to mention that.
Eric, I know there's a couple questions about timelines. I know we're working on the video piece. We may not have a firm timeline on that, but most of this is out now. So the ticket time slots is out now. All the virtual capabilities that we showed you is out now. The pre-auth, Eric, is that out now or is it coming this week? What's the status on that one?
It is in testing. So how testing works is we give it every single use case, and we try to think of all the different ways that things could go wrong. So we want to release things that are stable. So what I showed you guys today, it's all working, but it's in our test environment. But we do have a small bug list that we're working through. So I probably would, when this hits production, I guess we'll let you guys know, but we think it's very soon. I'm not super comfy on saying exactly when, but I would say the best humanly possible outcome might be next week. So it's gonna be soon. I wouldn't anticipate it being longer than maybe say 2 weeks. And also, I know we didn't show the mass charge. That's one of the things that's still being worked on right now, is we have the ability to individually charge them, so that one of the features that we're having before it releases to all of you guys is the ability to mass charge them all together. So even though you didn't see that here, that is being worked on, that will be in the release when it comes out.
Great. Well, this has been fantastic. It's been really fun to see so many people here. There was a lot of questions. If your question did not get answered, please reach out to us. We're happy to help. It's something we're really excited about, all of this. We're excited about where the future goes, and we want to be the best partners we can to support you through this. Eric and I always love hearing from customers, so feel free to reach out to either of us directly. Anybody on our team is happy to help. And we'll continue to do these if they're helpful. As we continue to think through new features and release things, we'll keep you posted. But we definitely appreciate everybody being here. Hope everybody has a fantastic rest of the week. And please, again, feel free to reach out for anything. We appreciate each and every one of you guys.
Yeah, guys, thank you. In our emails, Eric@webconnects.com, John@webconnects.com. We'd love to hear feedback from you guys. And also, if you have ideas, some of these things that came directly from feedback, please share them with us. We'd love to hear it. Things are moving fast, and so your feedback is really fantastic for us to be able to adjust and to create the future. So thank you guys. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.